Deep states are nothing new. If you think the United States and Canada are controlled by a deep state of elites, corporations, and bureaucrats, you're not alone. Through human history, most countries and empires have been controlled by elitists, cultists, and aristocratic families. Most times that deep state itself is under the control of a certain mind virus, whether it's an ideology, religion, or cult-like persuasion. Much like America's deep state, which appears to be under the control of a sort of authoritarian ideology under the guise of liberalism, much of the world's empires have been under the control of various deep states and their mind viruses throughout history. At the moment, many believe the United States is controlled by an authoritarian deep state, made up of mostly Democrats who have penetrated and now control most of the country's institutions on a bureaucratic level. Most of them are not elected through the democratic process and often have influence over those who are, like senators, governors, and presidents. If we rewind to the ancient Roman Empire, we find a similar deep state made up of aristocratic, elitist families, like the House of Cornelia. Much like the Rockefellers of America and the Rothschilds of Europe, ancient Rome had dynastic families, bloodlines, and houses that often influenced, penetrated, and joined the ruling class. But what mind virus controlled those families, dynasties, and their deep states? By the time the centurion Cornelius was born, many in the Roman Empire were becoming monotheistic, either adhering to the concept of one God or to the tenets of other religions and beliefs like Judaism. Others remained pagan or under the influence of Mithraism, which centered on the god Mithras. At the time, religions like this were predominant among Rome's ruling class. Julius Caesar himself, many generations earlier, was anointed a pontiff in his state's religion before becoming emperor. Generations later, Cornelius would be a God-fearing monotheist. Eventually, he would meet an apostle from a new sect of Judaism, which centered on a man who called himself the Son of God and was eventually crucified by the Roman state. According to the apostle, that man was later resurrected. Cornelius, already under the influence of another mind virus, became enamored with these new teachings and story. Years later, Cornelius would be baptized into this new religion, making himself the first alleged Gentile to do so. Cornelius would also become the first member of an influential and powerful ruling class dynasty to become infected with this new mind virus. Much like the influence and sway of more modern cult leaders and members like L. Ron Hubbard and Rasputin, who were able to influence figures and celebrities in higher places, the teachings of Jesus reached Cornelius, a high-ranking member of a ruling dynasty. It is from this moment that the new mind virus, later known as Christianity, would begin spreading across the empire and most of Europe. Christianity was most successfully spread across Europe by becoming the dominant religion among kings, emperors, and their families, like the Kingdom of Armenia, which was one of the first to be declared a Christian state. Almost all of the world's most infectious mind viruses have one thing in common. They have infected the minds of people who matter. It is through the process of infecting those who are influential that allows them to become potent and to spread quickly. This cycle has repeated itself through most of human history and continues to do so today. A mind virus takes on many forms. It can be a religion, an ideology, or any kind of belief that penetrates the mind of its host and then manipulates and controls its behavior. Oftentimes, rulers and leaders are influenced by such mind viruses. In some cases, they deliberately try to infect others with their own mind viruses. The more modern mind virus of multiculturalism appears to have been manufactured by the ruling class themselves intentionally to combat shrinking birth rates and to coerce populations into accepting immigrants and people of differing cultures. This was likely done to keep the money flowing into their pockets for generations to come and to preserve their control, power, and wealth. For the current ruling class and deep state, fewer people would mean less profits, whether it comes from consumerism or through taxation. With all of that said, not all mind viruses are destructive. For instance, the one discussed here, known as Christianity, has paved the way for most of the freedoms and customs we enjoy today. Although America has been corrupted over the generations and eaten away by other mind viruses like wokeism, most of America's founding fathers and those who led the French Revolution were Christians motivated by good faith and noble intentions. However, Christianity and its many sects and churches have been responsible for some of history's most horrific atrocities. The best way to combat the destructive mind viruses circulating around us is to immunize ourselves and our children with truthful news, honest and wholesome education, possibly in the form of home and private schooling, or by simply teaching others how to find and to live by the truths that the deep state is constantly trying to hide. We can all start now by reading more books about history, asking more questions we might have been afraid to ask, and to hold more leaders, journalists, and celebrities accountable for their actions and lies.